Greetings. Tony from Old River Hardgoods again. Well, the music you're listening to is Nighttime by Fort CD at Trinity Bridge. As always, there's a link to the full version and a video I made of it back in the day when I was rocking the beard. And as you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about some great old tools to collect and that are usable as well. Some stuff you may have seen in the past as I was picking it up, some stuff you may not have seen. So, got a lot of good stuff here. Depending on how long this goes, I might slap a flea market pickings video at the end, but we shall see. So, sit back, take notes, and I hope you enjoy. One of the tools that I did acquire down on my trip down to the Brown sale was this ball brace made by H. and R. Boker. Herman and Robert Boker started making sabers in 1929 and branched into other tools until I guess it was around the 1850s or so when Robert left to pursue toolmaking interests over in Canada and the United States, and Herman continued over there in Germany. So I give you a pretty good idea of the age of this guy. And this is called a ball brace or a gentleman's brace because of the style pad up there. And this one actually cleaned up pretty nice. I mean, I think the screw was replaced at some point, but it works. Chuck is good with no cracks. Once in a while, you'll find one of these. Now, this has the square tang chuck. Once in a while, you'll find one where the chuck is notched vertically to take the flat tang European-style bits. Those are pretty uncommon by any of the makers. The ball looks to be original. Has some dings and light patina. There's a nail there and a nail there. You know, it's not uncommon to see them being repaired, but at least it's got the original because bulk of these you find don't have them. The pad was replaced at some point with this brass one. I'll tell you what, somebody did a nice job of it. I mean, it moves a little slow. It's not, freewheeling, but it does turn. And I give it a quick cleaning. Well, I give the whole thing a cleaning because it's sold already, but the frame's in good shape. A little frost and nothing too bad. And like I said, the pad's got a little bit of patina, but I opted not to do the full mighty bright on it just to get some of the green off of it. Hey, what? This is a neat little brace. You sure ain't gonna see another one anytime soon. Well, here we're gonna take a look at a neat little hammer that I picked up not too long ago. Overall, it's like 8¼ inches long. The head's 2 13/16 inches. A little over 2 3/4 for you that can't do the math. And no maker's mark on it. The head is non-magnetic, and originally I thought this was brass, but might have been very lightly plated or painted or whatever, but it's some kind of other metal. Point is steel. That does stick to a magnet. That does unscrew. Face has got a cross-hatching pattern to it. Handle's rosewood, or a light rosewood, I guess. Could be mahogany, but I'm guessing it's a lighter rosewood. And what this is for, well, I don't really have a clue. I was originally thinking it's a sugar hammer. They do exist, and I have sold them, but I've never seen anyone like this. I could not find this guy to save my life. And I spent about an hour digging around online, but nothing really matched. I didn't really try doing a photo match. Maybe I'll try doing that at some point, because it's definitely going to be on its way out of here, but I do have pictures of it. But cleaned up really nice, and there's a bolt or threads that go down inside the handle, so you unscrew the head, it goes in, it's threaded right into the wood. And so this was, it's not a user project, that's for sure. And what it's for, I guess, will remain a mystery for the time being. But it's a pretty neat and definitely uncommon little hammer. Well, here we're going to take a look at this set of 3 early hand-forged spoon bits. I'm thinking these were sabot makers' tools for making wooden sabots, or clogs, as some folks would call them. But, they could have applications in other areas as well. This one is 14½ inches long, cut 7/8 of an inch. This one's 17 1/8, the cut's 1½. And this one's 17 3/4 of an inch, and the cut is 1 3/4. And they all have the same user mark. I'm assuming that's the right way, but I haven't really phoned them yet to take a look at it. So yeah, I think that was the right way. And of course I did some cleaning on them. I'm respectful cleaning, I should say. Respectful restoration, we'll go with that. And there's some patina. I didn't totally obliterate it. Just got rid of some light crusty and paint and what have you. The heads are all pretty good. The edges on this one aren't quite sharp, but these two are pretty sharp. Matter of fact, they look like they were sharpened somewhat recently. You see some shiny spots there. And the backs all have some light character. The tangs are all in good shape, no cracks. Although the hole on this one's got some wear. Well, all the holes have a little bit of wear. I'm pretty certain this would have been used with a wooden T-handle, with an iron plate mounted probably at the top or maybe on both sides, and then secured with an iron pin to keep them from moving around. But unfortunately, that's been lost to history. Trust me, if I had that handle, most folks couldn't even start to think about forging these guys. But I'll tell you what, this is a beautiful, beautiful set of tools. They just do not show up. I don't even speculate chances of finding another set like this. I'm sure they were made more. Looking at these sizes, there might be other ones out there by the same maker. But I doubt that I will ever see them. Of course, they might be sitting in your collection. Who knows, right? But anyways, again, this is a very, very collectible set of old tools. somewhat uncommon tool that I picked up, down at Kutztown. And this is called a pump drill. Basically, you wrap the string around the handle, and then you hold it and you push it down and it drills in, just like that. Steel shaft, wooden handle, brass head, and some of these use a square tang bit, like a diamond point or spade bit. This one is unusual because the chuck is marked patent. Come on. Yeah. The bit's nothing special, but there we go. All right. This has a double-ended set of jaws, similar to General and a couple other people make a hand vise, or a pen vise. It's got a chuck at both ends, and if you unscrew it, you've got four different jaw sizes within one tool. Well, this is using the same kind of setup, and possibly it's the same sizes. I don't have one here to check it against, but anyways, that's kind of neat. So it allows us to use regular twist bits rather than having to hunt down the spade bits. And I'm fixing to ship this guy out, so I'm not going to get too ready to tighten it back up. But don't want to cross-thread it either. But anyways, I did replace the string because it had some yellow nylon junk on it, and that wasn't working real well. And handle's oak, looks to be, yeah, maybe oak. But all in all, it's in good shape, and boy, that's a hard to find collectible tool, and I don't know when I'll see another one, so enjoy this one. Well, a tool that I recently restored and sold was this early, small, hand-forged bag axe, as they are called. 8 3/8, I guess, overall. The head was 3 1/8 inches long. And all said and done, this thing weighed about 9.5 ounces unboxed. Yeah, pounds. I can talk. And it's definitely hand forged. I mean, you can see, hopefully you can see the forge weld line there at the bottom of the eye where the two sections were folded. And it's definitely what we call Pennsylvania Dutch style. And decent shape. There's some mushrooming on the pole. I didn't do anything with that other than knock it down a little with the wheel, just take a few sharp edges off of it. Definitely has steel here. A lot of steel on that bit. Got some scratches and what have you. I mean, these guys were used primarily as it's called a bag axe. If you're putting your hunting bag or shooting pouch or whatever you want to call it, and used in the dressing of game out in the field. As it's a lightweight, but you get a little more leverage in doing it with a knife. And I spent a lot of time getting the old handle out. I mean, it was rust welded in there and had to be careful. Didn't want to damage the eye in any way, and had to carefully drill it through and then knock the pieces out. The handles, I made section of handle that was on an old blacksmith tool to oak, and pretty straightforward. I just outlined the shoulders using a coping saw, split off the waist with a chisel, and broke out the rasp with a pocket knife and just kind of started fitting it. Got a little thinner at the top than I would have liked, but I really didn't want to be jamming it in, so I just figured, get it on. If somebody wants to replace it, put a nicer one on or whatever, that's fine, but at least they're not going to have to destroy anything other than the top of the handle to get it out. But once again, you know, I say this a lot. These are rare. I mean, last time I had one of these, and I had original hand forged. There are other small axes out there. Craftsman made them, a bunch of people, but these early hand forged ones, it's got to be at least 15 years. I mean, they kind of got hot on eBay for a while, and a bunch of the flea market bandits were on the watch for them, but you know, they just do not show up like they used to. And it's a great, great piece of American history and a very collectible old tool. And here we have a pair of vintage brass calipers, beam calipers actually as they're called. Now Starrett makes their number 59, which is a trammel point with caliper legs as well, but you don't find these older ones with the caliper points on them too often. The beam, I'm guessing it's black walnut, but it could be mahogany. Kind of hard to tell sometimes with the staining. The heads are brass, whereas the points are steel. But wait, what makes this kind of unique is the name on the back. R.R. Jaxheimer. Reuben Reinhardt Jaxheimer, I was able to find. Born in 1852, died in 1943, and worked for Bethlehem Steel. I suspect as a pattern maker, or in some other capacity similar to that. And because these look user crafted, I've never seen manufactured ones like this, but in pretty good shape. Nothing wrong with the heads, nothing wrong with the points, so they have a little frosting on them. Beam's got some screw holes, not sure what they were doing with that there, but and there's some tiny brads in the beam, although I don't see any cracks, so I'm not sure why they are there, but you know, a lot of times these things don't come with the instruction manual, so you kind of have to make it up as you go. But what a beautiful set of tools, and hopefully they'll find their way to a new home, but it's definitely something you do not see very often. Well, I recently had this Miller Falls drill press come into the shop and go out of the shop. And this is a number 23. It uses a lever to move the drill head up and down. And they actually sold two different styles of this. The number 22, you could clamp a regular egg beater drill into this assembly here. The 23 had the integral drill system. And this one wasn't too bad. About the most work I did on it was get some oil up in here because the original oil or grease had gotten kind of gnarly and hard. Took a little funky off of the chuck. This does have the 1900 patent chuck. Oh, I forget all these speeds and speeds on it. You see there's a little oil hanging off there. I gotta wipe that off. This is sold, so I gotta get it packed up, which is why I'm doing this video now. But all in all, it's in pretty good shape. Oh, the table had a couple of drill holes. I guess somebody must have missed a few times. But thing turns smoothly, and these guys sure don't show up too often, that's for sure. I mean, once in a great while I'll see one. Usually somebody's got it priced at like Jim Bode plus 15% prices. Thinking they got a gold mine there, but I was able to get this one at a fair price, not cheap, but it's like I said, it's a neat tool. It's a hard to find tool. I'm sure they made a number of these over the years, but where they all went is anybody's guess. So, great collectible American tool. Well, a couple months back I did a video on a couple of my toolboxes that I have some of my collection stashed in here. One of the items I pulled out was a I remember this rosewood or ebony chairmaker's devil or scraper. These have slightly concave soles to them. And I picked this one up down on my recent patina trip. And I'll leave a link to the toolbox videos down in the description if you want to peruse them. And I first thought this might be lignum, but this is actually two-tone rosewood. There's a bit of dark and a lot of light, but you see this from time to time. Once in a while you'll find a Stanley with two-tone on a tote, or like a marking gauge with it on the head of the beam, which really, really pretty tools. But anyways, this one's in decent condition. I did a lot of work on this guy. The screws, the original screws were completely rusted. I mean, the threads were totally shot. Matter of fact, I could turn with a screwdriver and nothing happened. I had to use a punch and carefully knock them out. So those were replaced. The blade has some pitting. I'm not going to mess around with loosening them to pull this guy out. Body's got some stains and dings and a hanging hole of some sort there. This plate here's got some pitting. Sole has some wear at the back, and this check in the back I did run some glue into to kind of keep things a little more solid. Obviously not a perfect example, but let me tell you, these guys are few and very, very far between. I can't tell you the last time I had one of these guys, and unless somebody decides to sell a collection cheap at an auction someplace locally, I doubt I'm going to see too many more of them, because if somebody has one to sell, usually they know what they're worth. But anyways, another great collectible and uncommon tool. Here we're going to take a closer look at this unusual little tool. Some kind of carving chisel, sharpened across the edge there. 5 3/4 long, the edge is 7/8 inches wide. And what makes this, besides its shape, unusual, the fact that it was hand forged from a file. You kind of see the teeth marks there? I do have a video out there, and I'll put a link down in the description if I remember, on a video about tools made from files. And this one cleaned up pretty well. A little bit of patina, nothing too bad. The handle's hand carved. Can't really tell the wood. Look at it that close yet. Does have a little hanging or strap hole, but you're allowed, right? Everything's untied, although it looks like it may have been glued in place at some point. But hey, tell you what, this is definitely a one of a kind and rare and collectible old tool. Well, Sunday was kind of an eclectic day between both flea markets. Well, this and a little of that. So let's take a look. This is a Saboteur, if I'm saying that correctly, although the mark is partial. He was a New York maker of cutlery and leather tools. 1830s, 1870s vintage, and should clean up okay, and I probably have it sold already. Maybe. PS&W, 8-inch outside caliper. Needs a little clean, but not too bad a shape. A 30 caliber pistol mold, round ball and slug. Again, little clean. This is a Sculpture House, Sculpture Associates. I know because that's where the guy I got it from used to work. V-gouge, 60-degree cut on it. Needs a handle, needs a cleaning. 12 stainless steel riffler files for wood carving. I'm going to put these up in the sets because I had to pay some money to get those, but they'll move. Neat little hand-forged crate box hammer. Got a little cleaning, but that's not too bad. Moving on. A Warren Tool 1982 advertising hammer. It's pretty neat. I might wipe down the handle just real quick, but other than that, I think it weighs like 11 ounces. An Eberly Redding. These are sewing machine needle straightening pliers. There's a little paint on them, but again, they'll clean up good. And it's getting hard to find good examples of these. These were made in Germany for the most part. But if I said it, Everly made tools and supplies for the sewing machine industry. This one probably won't go anywhere, but it's a neat piece of history. And this is a Roebling Trenton patent alligator wrench. Roebling, if you want to do your Google whatever, was responsible for the invention of wire ropes, wire cable, if I remember correctly, and also helped build the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, he started the construction of it. He died before it was put to bed. A longer perfect handle style screwdriver. Didn't see a maker on it just yet, but I'm sure we can stamp something to make it interesting. A signed little ball peen hammerhead. Blacksmith's square punch, rectangle punch head, pretty good shape. Needs a little grinding. Just a small little crossbeam hammer, tack hammer head, and a new in the package, Starrett number S167C. Got a little grease or whatever on it. Radius gauge set, if you can see all that. New in a package with the holder. So, pretty decent mixed pile for the day, I'd say. Well, that's all for this one, folks. Hope you enjoyed my little presentation. I hope you learned something. And as always, if you'd like to be notified when new videos are posted, please hit that subscribe button. As always, thanks for watching, and bye.